All right, let's dive in. You sent us Rigveda. That PDF looks like a bunch of hymns and verses, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So we're going to crack this open and see what we can learn. Could be some cool stuff in here about, ancient Indian mythology,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
rituals, all that. Maybe even some insights into, like, how they saw the universe.
Definitely. The Rig Veda is like a window into a whole other world and way of thinking. It's considered one of the oldest religious texts in the world. Really gives us a glimpse of, a civilization that was thriving along the Indus River Valley centuries ago.
Wow, that's going way back. So are we talking, like, just straight up gods and goddesses here?
Well, it is about gods and goddesses, yeah. But it's more than just that. It's like their whole cultural encyclopedia.
Oh, interesting.
You see their social structure, their beliefs, how they viewed nature. It's all in there.
Okay, so it's a lot more than just, like, who they worshipped. It's like how they lived, right?
Exactly. The Rig Veda paints a picture of a world that was deeply connected to nature. Like, to them, the elements were literally personified as gods.
So the gods weren't just, like, up in the sky somewhere. They were part of everyday life.
Right. These gods were forces that influenced every aspect of their lives.
So let's start with one of the big names, right? Indra, he's mentioned a lot, right?
Oh, yeah. Indra's huge. King of the gods, warrior deity, all that. Thunder, lightning, storms, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds intense.
He is, but his significance goes way beyond just the weather. He's most famous for slaying this demon, Vrtra, who represented drought. So it's like this symbolic victory over, the forces that threaten life.
So Indra's like a liberator, bringing life to the land.
Exactly. Freeing the waters, ensuring prosperity for the people.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. Now, there's this drink, Soma, that keeps popping up with Indra. What's the deal with that?
Ah, Soma. This was a big deal. It was a ritualistic drink, probably made from some kind of plant, and they believed it, like empowered Indra, gave him the strength and energy for all his, godly feats.
So, like his power-up potion.
Pretty much. It's like his fuel, enabling him to overcome obstacles and maintain cosmic order.
Cosmic order. Okay, so how do they actually depict Indra? Like, what's he look like in the hymns?
Oh, there are some really vivid descriptions. One that stands out is him riding across the sky in his chariot.
A chariot, cool.
Yeah, and it's pulled by these two powerful bay horses, really captures this image of like power, dynamism, warrior spirit.
I can see it now. Indra thundering across the sky. But he's not the only god in town, right? Who else should we know about?
Oh, there are a ton. Another major player is Agni, god of fire, but he's not just about flames and destruction.
No.
He's also about purity, light, and knowledge.
Okay, so fire is a symbol of something more, something positive.
Yeah, and he acts as this messenger between the gods and mortals, carrying offerings from earthly sacrifices up to the heavens.
So if Indra's the warrior protecting us, Agni's the link connecting us to him.
You got it. They had a deep appreciation for these forces of nature.
I bet. What about the sun? They must have had a god for that too, right?
Of course, that's Savitar, the sun god, all about life-giving energy, prosperity, and, dispelling the darkness, warmth, light, all that good stuff.
Savitar, the bringer of light. Makes sense. Any cool descriptions of him in the hymn?
Oh yeah, they say he travels across the sky in a golden chariot, radiating warmth. And get this, Savitar is said to rule over 2 out of the 3 heavens.
2 out of 3. Wow. He's got some prime celestial real estate. It seems like the Rig Veda is full of these, like, powerful pairings, these duos.
It is. It's like everything comes in twos. Take Mitra and Varuna, for example.
You turn Aruna. All right.
They represent cosmic order and justice. Mitra's all about light, friendship, contracts, that sort of thing. And Varuna embodies the sky, the cosmic waters, upholding the law.
So they're like partners, keeping the universe in check.
Yeah, they're often invoked together like this cosmic power couple, making sure everything stays balanced and harmonious.
Cosmic police, keeping things in line. Are there any other divine duos we should know about?
Definitely. There are the Aspen's twin gods, known for healing, youthfulness, and protection.
Like divine paramedics.
Ah, something like that. They're known for a miraculous deed and for, like, restoring the youth of this ancient sage, Sayavana.
Oh, wow. Restoring youth. Must have been popular gods.
Oh, super popular even among the other gods. The hymns even mention the daughter of the sun choosing to ride in their chariot. Yeah, they were like the A-list healers of the time. Everyone wanted to ride in their chariot, apparently. But we can't forget about Rudra. Now he's a bit more complex. More intense, maybe.
Oh? How so?
Well, he's associated with storms, hunting, even healing. But he's often depicted as fierce, unpredictable.
Okay, so not as universally beloved as the Asphins.
Right. He could be pretty scary, capable of bringing both disease and its cure, like a force of nature you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, I'm seeing a pattern here. These gods, they're powerful. They're connected to nature. They're not just like these distant figures, right?
No, not at all. And that connection to nature isn't just reflected in the gods themselves, it's woven through the entire Rig Veda. Like, it's a recurring theme, you
Oh,
know?
totally. Like what are some of the big themes that stand out?
Well, sacrifice is a huge one, known as yavna. It's absolutely central to their religion.
Sacrifice, yeah, that makes sense. But it's not just about like killing animals, right? What was the purpose?
Right, it was way more than that. It was a way to communicate with the gods, appease them, maintain a good relationship between humans and the divine.
So it's about balance, give and take.
Exactly, and the offerings could be anything, really. From that sona drink we talked about to ghee, grains, even animals, yeah.
Okay, so it's a whole system, and there were different priests involved, right?
Oh yeah, the hymns describe all these intricate rituals, specialized roles for different priests, like the hotar, who recited the hymns, and the advaryo, who, like, performed the actions, the rituals.
Gotcha. So it was a whole orchestrated thing, a lot of structure. And speaking of structure, there's this concept of rata that seems to be everywhere in the Mid-Veda.
Oh yeah, Rudda's huge. It's like their fundamental principle, the cosmic order, the force that makes sure everything runs smoothly.
So like the rules of the universe.
Exactly. Think of it like the invisible thread connecting everything. Stars, seasons, life, death, it's all part of Rata.
Wow, that's pretty deep. And it sounds like a lot of these gods we've been talking about, Mitra, Varuna, the Asvins, they all have a role in maintaining this order.
Exactly. They're all part of this intricate web, making sure everything stays balanced.
Okay, so upsetting that balance would be like a big no-no.
Huge no-no. The hymns are full of warnings about what happens if you mess with Rata, like bad stuff.
Gotcha. So respect the cosmic order. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? The Rig Veda is also poetry, like actual poetry.
Oh, absolutely. The hymns are filled with metaphors, similes, really evocative imagery.
So it's not just like dry religious text.
Not at all. It's beautiful, powerful stuff. There's one hymn to Agni where he's described as, like, advancing with his lofty banner, a bull bellowing to the earth and heavens.
Wow, that's intense. I can almost hear it.
Right. Really captures his power and his role as this connector between the human and the divine.
It's amazing how these ancient words can still evoke such vivid images.
Absolutely. Like, there's another one describing Savitar, the sun god. It says, he's born in his golden chariot, moving by the upward path, the downward, with two bright bays. Adorable he journeys.
I can totally picture it. Savitar cruising across the sky, keeping an eye on everything. And speaking of keeping an eye on things, there's this line about Agni preserving blind Mamatea from affliction. It makes you think they believe the gods could actually intervene in people's lives.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a really clear sense of seeking divine protection, like in another passage where they pray, give not us up a prey to sin, O Agni, not to the fang that bites, not to the toothless. Give not us up, thou God, to any evildoer.
So they knew they were vulnerable. They needed the gods to protect them from like both physical and spiritual threats.
Exactly. And, there were consequences for those who went against the divine order.
Oh, right. Like what?
Well, there's this one hymn that says, the fearful four-edged bolt smites down the three-edged, and those who hate the gods first fall and perish.
Okay, so you don't want to be on the wrong side of the gods. Better to stay aligned with Reta.
Right. Follow the cosmic rules and you'll be okay. But then there's this really interesting image, the footless maid, who, like, precedes all the creatures with feet.
The footless maid, huh? Who is she? What do you think she represents?
That's a great question. There are lots of interpretations. Some say she's dawn, like the coming of light. Others think she's something more abstract, like fate or destiny.
Oh, I see. Something that exists beyond, like, physical limitations.
Exactly. It's one of those mysteries that keeps scholars debating even today.
Speaking of mysteries, there's a whole section about this ritual, the horse sacrifice. What's that all about?
Oh, the horse sacrifice is a big one. Very elaborate. Tons of symbolism. They considered the horse god descended, treated it with so much reverence before ultimately offering it as a sacrifice.
Wow. So it wasn't just some random animal.
No, not at all. The hymns describe how they led the horse around 3 times, with a goat walking in front as the sheriff Pusan.
Pusan.
Yeah, another god. Like, he was announcing the sacrifice to the other gods. Very structured, very specific.
Interesting. What about the horse itself? Like, what happened to it?
Well, there's this beautiful passage that talks about the horse ascending to the heavens. It says, the steed is come into the noblest mansion, is come into his father and his mother. This day shall he approach the gods most welcome. Then he declares good gifts to him who offers.
So it was like a celebration, like sending the horse back to the divine realm.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. A symbol of the connection between the earthly and the heavenly.
Makes you wonder what they thought about the afterlife, right? Like, what happened to people when they died?
Totally. There's definitely this sense of awe and wonder about the cosmos, the mysteries of existence. Like in this hymn where they ask, whether these is elder, whether later, how were they born? Who knoweth it, ye sages? These of themselves support all things existing, as on a car the day and night roll onward.
Wow, it's like they're contemplating the very foundations of the universe.
They are, and then they ask for protection from heaven and earth. Like, your own son upon his parents' bosom, protect us, heaven and earth, from fearful danger.
They saw those cosmic forces as parents. It's beautiful.
Right, it's like they're seeking refuge, acknowledging their vulnerability in the face of these immense powers.
But they also recognize they need to work with nature, right? Not just be afraid of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a part where they talk about inciting the child of waters, like harnessing the power of the elements.
Interesting.
And they even call on the gods to help them, saying, moreover, Vastar also shall approach us. Hither shall come the Virtuslayer Indra, as strongest of the heroes.
So it's about, like, collaboration, working with the divine to achieve their goals.
Exactly. And man, the imagery is just so powerful. Like when they describe hymns flowing towards Indra like rivers, it says like rivers rushing down a slope, O Indra, to thee haste songs and prayers and linked verses.
Like they're pouring their hearts out to him.
Right, and they acknowledge that he provides for them, saying, thou gatherest, thunderer, like widespread bounty, kine, water, drops, and manifold libations.
So he's not just a warrior, he's a provider. A king who takes care of his people.
Exactly. And get this, there's even a part where they describe Indra as a shapeshifter. It says, in every figure he has been the mode. This is his only form for us to look on. Indra moves multiform by his illusions, for his base steeds are yoked, 10 times 100.
Whoa, a shapeshifter. That's unexpected. Adds another layer to him, right?
For sure. Makes him even more mysterious, even more powerful. But even with all that power, he's still bound by Rota.
Oh, right. The cosmic order. It all comes back to that.
It does. Like one hymn emphasizes that Indra is a supporter of Raita. It says, eternal law hath varied food that strengthens. Thought of eternal law removes transgressions. The praise hymn of eternal law, arousing, glowing, hath oped the deaf ears of the living.
Wow, so even the gods have to follow the rules.
Seems like it. And to really drive the point home, the hymn goes on to say, firm-seated are eternal law's foundations in its fair form are many splendid beauties. By holy law long-lasting food they bring us. By holy law have cows come to our worship.
So Reta is the source of everything good. Food, prosperity, all of it.
Exactly. It's the foundation of their worldview. And speaking of foundations, there's this fascinating passage about the very beginning of the universe. It talks about Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb.
The golden womb, okay.
Yeah, and it asks, in the beginning Ras Hiranyagarbha, born only Lord of all created beings, he fixed and holdeth up this earth and heaven. What God shall we adore with our oblation?
It's like they're trying to wrap their heads around creation itself. Where did it all come from?
Totally, and they keep asking these deep questions like, giver of vital breath, of power and vigor, he whose commandments all the gods acknowledge, the Lord of death, whose shade is life immortal, what God shall we adore with our oblation?
It's like they're searching for the ultimate source, the divine force behind everything.
Yeah, and they're grappling with the big questions of life and death. But amidst all that, there's this really personal connection with the gods, too, like in this hymn about the Asvins.
Oh, right, the twin healers. They were super popular.
They were, and this hymn feels so intimate, like they're inviting the Asvins into their home. It says, with all the succors that are yours, O Asvins, hither come to us. Wonderful, born on pats of gold, drink ye the meath with soma juice.
Oh, that's nice. They're not just worshiping from afar, they're like hanging out with the gods.
Right, and they describe Asvins as arriving on your car, decked with a sun-bright canopy, bountiful with your golden forms, sages with depth of intellect.
So not just healers, but wise and radiant, too.
Exactly. And there's this one guy, Kanva's son, who seems to have a special connection with them.
Oh, what's his story?
Well, he's called the Arsivatsa, and he's super devoted to the Asvins. The hymn says, come hither from the Nahusas, come, drawn by pure hymns from midair. O Asvins, drink the savory juice shed in the canvas's sacrifice.
So he's like their biggest fan?
Pretty much. And it's like his devotion actually has power. Like he can call them forth with his hymns.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And do the Asvins, like, reward him for his devotion?
They do. One verse says, what time ye lords of ample wealth the lady mounted on your car, then, O ye Asvins, ye attained all wishes that your hearts desired.
So by serving the gods, you could achieve your own desires.
Yeah, it wasn't just about selflessness. It was about seeking blessings and guidance on your own path.
That makes sense. It's like a two-way street.
Right. And later, the poet specifically asks the Asvins, O Asvins, grant us all rich gifts wherewith no man may interfere. Make us observe the stated times. Give us not over to reproach.
So they're asking for material wealth, but also for guidance, protection, like Help us stay on the right track.
Exactly. And the imagery just keeps getting better. The poet even says, whether Nasatyas you be nigh or whether you be far away, come thence, O Askins, on your car that has 1,000 ornaments.
1,000 ornaments. That chariot must have been blinged out.
Right. They really spared no expense when it came to the gods. And then specifically for Vatsa, they say, Vatsa the Varsai, with his songs, Nasatyas, hath exalted you. Grant him rich food distilling oil, graced with 1,000 ornaments.
Okay, so the hymns weren't just for show. They were actually tied to specific requests, specific desires.
Oh, for sure. They believed their words had power, that they could bring about real, tangible results.
Speaking of tangible results, there's this hymn that seems to be all about the power of hymns themselves. Like, praising the gods can bring you abundance, both spiritual and material.
Oh yeah, there's this line that says, I have enriched the singer with surpassing wealth. I have allowed the holy hymn to strengthen me.
It's like they're saying the act of praising the gods, of pouring your heart into these hymns, actually brings you blessings.
Exactly. And then it goes on to describe all these victories, saying, I, further of him who offers sacrifice, have conquered in each fight the men who worship not. The people of the heavens, the waters, and the earth have stablished me among the gods with Indra's name.
So it's like a victory lap, celebrating the triumphs of those who are on the side of the divine.
Right, and then there's this part where it describes how Indra got his chariot. It says, I took unto myself the 2 swift, vigorous bays that speed on diverse paths, and the fierce bolt for strength.
The fierce bolt. Sounds like a weapon fit for a god.
It does, and Indra's a warrior, so we see a lot of battles and conquests in the hymns.
Like what? Who's he fighting?
Oh, usually those who represent chaos and disorder. Like one hymn says, with deadly blows I smote Atka for Kavi's sake. I guarded Kutsa well with these saving helps. As Susna's slayer, I brandished the dart of death. I gave not up the Aryan name to Dasu foes.
So he's like a defender of his people, a champion of righteousness.
Exactly, a classic warrior archetype. But he's also a provider, remember? Like there are descriptions of him giving land, resources to his followers.
Oh, right. So he's not just about fighting?
Nope, he's a benevolent king, taking care of his people. Like it says, Smadiba, Tugra, and the Vedasis I gave as prey to Pusa, father-like to suffer him. I was a worthy king to rule the worshipper when I gave Tujidir invisible gifts.
It's like he embodies the ideal ruler, strong but also compassionate.
Right. And there's this really interesting part where he basically claims dominion over the entire natural world. It says, I set within these cows the white milk, which no god, not even Faestar self, had there deposited, much longed for, in the breasts, the udders of the kine, the savory sweets of meath, the milk and soma juice.
Wow. He's in control of the very source of nourishment and life.
Right, it's a pretty bold statement. And then the hymn ends with this huge celebration of his greatness. It says, even thus hath Indra Magavan, truly bounteous, sped gods and men with mighty operation. The pious glorify all these thine exploits, Lord of bay coursers, strong and self-resplendent.
A fitting tribute to a pretty awesome god.
Haha, yeah. But it's not just about power and strength. Throughout the hymns, there's this emphasis on generosity, sharing, like it's a recurring theme.
Oh, interesting. Do you have an example?
Yeah, there's this one that says, the gods have not ordained hunger to be our death. Even to the well-fed man comes death in varied shape. The riches of the liberal never waste away, while he who will not give finds naught to comfort him.
Okay, so it's like there are consequences for being greedy.
Right. And it even says, the man with food in store who, when the needy comes in miserable case, begging for bread to eat, hardens his heart against him. Even when of old he did him service, finds not one to comfort him.
So it's not just about giving to strangers. It's about helping those who have helped you in the past.
Exactly. Being kind, compassionate, it all comes back to you in the end.
What about the rewards of generosity? Do they talk about that?
Oh, yeah. Like it says, bounteous is he who gives unto the beggar, who comes to him in want of food and feeble. Success attends him in the shout of battle. He makes a friend of him in future troubles.
So generosity brings you success, friendship, support?
Exactly. It creates a positive ripple effect.
And there's this cool image of wealth being like a wheel, always turning.
Oh, yeah. The hymn says, riches come now to work, now to another, and like the wheels of cars are ever rolling.
So it's a reminder that material wealth is temporary.
Exactly. It's constantly changing hands. Don't get too attached.
So focus on being a good person, not just on getting rich.
Right, and they really contrast the wise with the foolish in this hymn. It says, the foolish man wins food with fruitless labor. That food, I speak the truth, shall be his ruin. He feeds no trusty friend, no man to love him. All guilt is he who eats with no partaker.
So true wealth involves sharing, building relationships, not just hoarding stuff.
Exactly, and then there's this verse that's really interesting. It says, the hands are both alike. Their labor differs. The yield of sister milch kine is unequal. Twins even differ in their strength and vigor. 2, even kinsmen differ in their bounty.
It's like they're saying even people who seem similar are actually unique.
Right, everyone has their own strengths, their own capacity for generosity.
And we're all connected somehow, even if we're different.
Exactly. It's all part of this big, intricate web. And they even use a numerical metaphor to describe how existence gets more complex. Like it says, he with 1 foot hath far outrun the biped, and the 2-footed catches the 3-footed. 4-footed creatures come when bipeds call them, and stand and look where 5 are met together.
Okay, that's a little bit of a riddle. But it seems like they're talking about evolution, right? Things starting simple and then becoming more complex.
Right, moving from the individual to the collective.
And you know what else I've noticed? There's this emphasis on speech, the power of words.
Oh yeah, totally. Language is a big deal in the Rig Veda. They really valued eloquent speech, especially in hymns and prayers.
Makes sense. They're literally communicating with the gods, right?
Exactly. And there's this line that says, bring adoration ample and most excellent hymn offerings to the watchful twain, the bountiful, your sweetest to the bounteous ones. Like they're saying, use your best words, craft them carefully.
So it's not just about saying anything, it's about choosing the right words, putting intention behind them.
Exactly. And they even ask for the gods to help them with their speech, saying, within my mouth, Braspati, deposit speech lucid, vigorous, and free from weakness, thereby to win for Santanu the rainfall.
So they're seeking inspiration from the gods of speech themselves.
They are. They knew words had power to influence outcomes, to connect them with the divine.
But they also knew words could be used for harm.
Oh yeah. Like it says, yea, when a mortal knowingly, O victor, injures with double tongue a fellow mortal, from him praised Agni. Save thou him that lauds thee, bring us not into trouble and affliction.
So they're asking for protection from lies, slander, deceit.
Exactly. Words can be weapons too. And there's this passage that really connects speech with knowledge and wisdom. It says, the sage who looketh on mankind hath viewed them bedewed, rejoicing in the seat of order. They make a home as for a bird, though parted, with one same will, finding themselves together.
So it's about observation, insight, speaking truthfully, using language to illuminate the world.
Right. And to connect with a sense of order or purpose.
Makes sense. And there's this line that says, afar the ancient front of old I ponder, our kinship with our mighty sire and father, singing the praise whereof the gods by custom stand on the spacious, far-extended pathway.
It's like they're tracing their wisdom back to this ancient source, connecting their present understanding to the knowledge of their ancestors.
That's beautiful. It's like the words themselves are a bridge between generations.
And they compare speech to a river, saying, the 7 tones risen from the white-backed Vienne have made their way between the pair of mothers. Both circumjacent parents come together to yield us length of days. They hasten forward.
So words can nourish us, sustain us, like water.
Exactly. They're essential for life. And then there's this part where they dive deep into the whole concept of ritual. They ask, what were the rule, the order, and the model? What were the wooden fender and the butter? What were the hymn, the chant, the recitation, when to the god all deities paid worship?
So they're trying to understand what makes ritual work, like what are the key ingredients.
Exactly. And they even trace the origins of specific meters and their connections to certain deities. Like it says, closely was Gayatri conjoined with Agni, and closely Savitar combined with Usnis. Brilliant with Upthas, Soma joined Anustup. Bhaskoti's voice by Bhatti was aided.
So different meters had different powers. That's fascinating.
It is, and they clearly believed that these poetic words had the power to transform. It says, so by this knowledge men were raised to Arsis when ancient sacrifice sprang up our fathers. With the mind's eye I think that I behold them who first performed this sacrificial worship.
So they're honoring the wisdom of their ancestors, the poets, the singers, who preserved this knowledge and passed it down.
Exactly, and they specifically mention the 7 godlike Arsis who were masters of ritual and language. Like they were the OG keepers of wisdom.
It's a reminder that we're part of this long chain of knowledge, building on what came before us.
Absolutely, and throughout the Rig Veda, there's this constant emphasis on clarity, eloquence in communication, like invoking the gods of speech to guide their words and make them effective.
Right, because it's not just about speaking beautifully, it's about speaking with purpose, with intention.
Exactly, and there's a passage where they actually ask for this guidance. It says, O Brahmanaspati, stand up, God-serving men we pray to be. May they who give good gifts, the Maruts, come to us. Indra, most swift, be thou with them.
The Maruts. the storm gods.
Right. They're calling on all these powerful forces to help them speak truthfully, righteously.
So their words can align with the will of the gods.
Exactly. And they make this connection between eloquence and prosperity, saying, "He who bestows a noble guerdon on the priest gives fame that never shall decay. For him we offer sacred hero-giving food, peerless and conquering easily."
Okay, so support the arts, support the poets, and you'll be rewarded.
Aha, right. Honor those who preserve knowledge and you'll reach the benefits.
Makes sense. And it's not just about material rewards, right? It's about spiritual growth, too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's this line that says, "Now Brahmanaspati speaks forth aloud the solemn hymn of praise, wherein Indra and Varuna, Mitra, Aryaman, the gods, have made their dwelling place." Like, the hymns themselves become sacred spaces.
Wow. So the words themselves have power to create a dwelling place for the gods.
They do, and to access that power, you need purity, intention. It says, "May we in holy synods, gods, recite that hymn, peerless, that brings felicity. If you, O heroes, graciously accept this word, may it obtain all bliss from you."
So you have to approach the gods with sincerity, humility.
Absolutely. And your inner state, your level of purity actually affects your words. It says, "Who shall approach the pious? Who the man whose secret grass is trimmed? The offerer with his folk advances more and more. He fills his house with precious things."
So it's not just what you say, it's who you are when you say it.
Exactly. And that inner state should be reflected in your actions too. Like it says, "He amplifies his lordly might. With kings he slays. Even not alarms he dwells secure in great or lesser fight. None checks him, none subdues. The wielder of the thunderbolt."
So speak truthfully, act righteously. Your words and actions should be in alignment.
Exactly. And there's this warning against those who try to deceive, manipulate others. It says, "The sinful man who worships not, O Agni, who, offering not, harms us with double dealing. Be this in turn to him a heavy sentence. May he distress himself by his revilings."
So karma applies to speech, too. What you say matters.
Absolutely. And the poet prays for protection from such people, saying, "From him, praise Agni, save thou him that lauds thee. Bring us not into trouble and affliction."
It's like they're saying surround yourself with people who speak truthfully, people of integrity.
Right, and there's this really interesting passage that contrasts those who hoard wealth with those who share it. It says, "The 7 tones risen from the white-backed viand have made their way between the pair of mothers. Both circumjacent parents come together to yield us length of days. They hasten forward."
It's a lot to unpack there, but it seems like they're talking about the flow of energy, right? Between the divine and the earthly.
Exactly, and how generosity contributes to the well-being of all.
So it's a reminder to be generous, to share what we have.
Right, it's not just about accumulating wealth for yourself. It's about understanding that we're all interconnected.
It's pretty cool how these ancient hymns can give us insights into not just their spiritual beliefs, but their social values, too.
Totally, like what they considered right and wrong. And there's this passage where the poet asks for guidance on their life's journey. They say, "By goodly paths lead us to riches, Agni, God who knowest every sacred duty. Remove the sin that makes us stray and wander. Most ample adoration will we bring thee."
It's like they're asking Agni to lead them down the right path.
They are, and they ask for help in overcoming obstacles, saying, "Lead us anew to happiness, O Agni. Lead us beyond all danger and affliction. Be unto us a wide, broad, ample castle. Bless, prosper on their way our sons and offspring."
So they're not just thinking about themselves, they're thinking about their families, their descendants.
Exactly, and health is a big concern too. They say, "Far from us, Agni, put thou all diseases, let them strike lauds that have no saving Agni. God, make our home again to be a blessing, with all the immortal deities, O holy."
So physical well-being was just as important as spiritual well-being.
Absolutely, it was all connected, and they see Agni as this protector, asking him, "Preserve us, Agni, with perpetual succor, refulgent in the dwelling which thou lovest. O conqueror most youthful, let no danger touch him who praises thee today or after."
They really put their trust in him.
They do. It's a reminder that we're not alone. We can always call on the divine for support. And speaking of the divine, there's this passage that hints at their beliefs about life and death. It says, "From mortal men they hid the immortal lady, made one like her, and gave her to Vivasvan. Saranyu brought to him the Askan brothers, and then deserted both twin with pairs of children."
The immortal lady. Who's that?
That's a good question. It seems to be a myth about the separation between the immortal and the mortal realms.
Oh, interesting. Like hinting at the mystery of where we go after death.
Right, and then there's this line that talks about the soul's journey. "Guard of the world, whose cattle ne'er are injured, may Pusan bear thee hence, for he hath knowledge. May he consign thee to these fathers' keeping, and to the gracious gods let Agni give thee."
Pusan again. He seems to be the guide for the afterlife.
He does, leading the soul to the realm of the ancestors. And then it says, May Ayu, giver of all life, protect thee, and bear thee forward on the distant pathway. Thither let Savitar the god transport thee, where dwell the pious who have passed before thee.
It's a comforting image, like death isn't the end, it's a transition to another realm.
Exactly. And they're not alone on that journey. They have the gods guiding them, and they specifically ask for Pusan's help, saying, Pusan knows all these realms. May he conduct us by ways that are most free from fear and danger. Giver of blessings, glowing, all heroic, may he, the wise and watchful, go before us.
It's like they're surrendering to his guidance, trusting him to lead them through the unknown.
They are. It's beautiful, isn't it? And there's this other hymn that talks about the importance of finding your true path, aligning yourself with Radha, that cosmic order we talked about.
Right, like figuring out your purpose and staying true to it.
Exactly. It says, well, knowing I have bound me, horse-like, to the pole, I carry that which bears us on and gives us help. I seek for no release, no turning back therefrom. May he who knows the way, the leader, guide me straight.
Wow, that's powerful. They're not messing around, they're committed.
They are, and they're calling on a whole bunch of gods for support. Like, it goes on to say, O Agni, Indra, Varuna, and Mitra, give, O ye gods and Marut host, and Vishnu, may both Nasatyas, Rudra, heavenly matrons, Puzan, Sarasvati, Bhaga, accept us.
Okay, so they're not picky, they're calling on everyone for help.
Right. It's like they're saying, hey, any and all divine help is welcome here.
Makes sense, cover all your bases. But there's also this sense of, like, unity, isn't there? Like recognizing that everything's connected.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It says, Indra and Agni, Mitra, Varuna, Aditi, the waters, mountains, Marut, sky, and earth and heaven. Vishnu I call, Pusan and Brahmanaspati and Paga, Samsa, Sabatai, that they may help. They're basically acknowledging the divine in everything.
That's pretty cool. It's like they're seeing the whole universe as this interconnected web.
Exactly. And they even call on those associated with, like, craftsmanship skill. It says, May Vishnu also and Vata, who injures none, and Soma, granter of possessions, give us joy. And may the Arbuts and the Asvins, Tavastar and Vivvan remember us, so that we may have wealth.
So they're asking for creative inspiration, too, the ability to manifest their desires.
Yeah, like aligning their will with the will of the divine. And then they specifically call upon the Maruts.
Oh, right, the storm gods. They're a force to be reckoned with.
They are, and they say, come to us to sit on sacred grass, to drink the draught of Soma juice. They're basically inviting them to the party.
Like, hey, Maruts, come hang out with us, drink some Soma, and bless our endeavors.
Exactly, and they thank them for bringing rain, nourishment. It says, may helpful Indra as our good preserver drive from us, even from afar, our foemen, like rivers rushing down a slope, O Indra, to thee haste songs and prayers and linked verses.
So again, they're recognizing that connection between the divine, the natural world, and the human life.
It's all intertwined, and they go on to describe the Marut's power, saying, they hasten on to happy termination their orders when they are made known by glory. As on a fair bright day the arrow flieth o'er all the barren soil, their missiles sparkle.
So they're fast, powerful, radiant, a little bit scary, honestly.
Haha, yeah, they're a force of nature. And the poet asks for their continued favor, saying, incline the Asvins to show grace, and Puzan for power, and might have they their own possession. Friendly are Vishnu, Vata, and Arbuksan, so may I bring the gods to make us happy.
They're really covering all their bases here, making sure they stay on the good side of all these gods.
Right, they know how important it is to be in harmony with the divine. And then they get into this whole description of the Marut's might, their role as protectors. It says, now do I glorify their mighty cohort, the company of these the youthful Maruts, who ride impetuous on with rapid horses and radiant in themselves, are lords of Amrita.
Okay, so they're powerful, they're radiant, they're connected to this life-giving force, Amrita. Sounds like a pretty awesome crew.
They are, and their descriptions get really vivid. It says, the mighty glittering band, arm-bound with bracelets, givers of bliss, unmeasured in their greatness, with magical powers, bountiful, ever-roaring, these liberal heroes venerate thou singer.
They sound pretty intimidating, to be honest.
Haha, a little bit. But they also bring rain, nourishment. Like it says, this day may all your water-bringers, Maruts, they who impel the falling rain, approach us. This fire, O Maruts, hath been duly kindled. Let it find favor with you, youthful sages.
So, yeah, they're powerful, but they're also essential for life.
Right, and they even play a role in establishing good leadership. It says, ye raise up for the folk an active ruler whom, holy ones, a master's hand hath fashioned. He send the fighter hand to hand, arm mighty, and the brave hero, Maruts, with good horses.
So, good leaders are divinely inspired. That's an interesting concept.
It is. Like, true leadership comes from a higher power. And then there's this line about their connection to nature's cycles. It says, they spring forth more and more, strong in their glories, like days, like spokes where none are last in order. Highest and mightiest are the sons of Prisni. Firm to their own intention cling the Maruts.
Okay, so they're like the spokes of a wheel representing this endless cycle of creation and renewal.
Exactly, and they describe the Maruts' impact on the world, saying, when you have hastened on with spotted coursers, O Maruts, on your cars with strong wrought fellies, the waters are disturbed, the woods are shattered. Let Daius the red steer send his thunder downward.
They bring the storms, the chaos, but it's all part of a bigger process.
Right, destruction and regeneration, making way for new life. And they even talk about how the Maruts fertilize the earth. It says, even earth hath spread herself wide at their coming, and they as husbands have with power impregnated her. They to the pole have yoked the winds for coursers, their sweat have they made rain, these sons of Rudra.
Wow, that's pretty vivid.
It is, and the hymn ends with this request for their blessings. Ho, Maruts, heroes, skilled in law, immortal, be gracious unto us, ye rich in treasures, ye hearers of the truth, ye sage and youthful grown mighty, dwelling on the lofty mountains.
So much respect, so much reverence for these powerful gods.
Absolutely. They're both in awe of them and grateful for their role in maintaining balance in the world. And then there's a shift, like they start talking about the importance of purification, removing obstacles. One hymn says, slight us not, Varuna, Aryaman, or Mitra, Arbiksan, Indra, Ayu, or the Maruts, when we declare amid the congregation the virtues of the strong steed, God descended.
So they're asking the gods to witness their ritual and make sure it goes smoothly.
Exactly. And to protect them from any negativity, any harm. It says, drive utterly far away from us each godless, each voracious foe, O Indu, overcome and drive the false afar.
So again, there's this sense of like light versus darkness, good versus evil.
Right. It's a constant struggle to maintain balance. But then there are these hymns that celebrate knowledge, insight, like one that says, the sacrifice drawn out with threads on every side, stretched by 100 sacred ministers in one. This do these fathers weave, who hitherward are come. They sit beside the warp and cry, weave forth, weave back.
Okay, so they're comparing creation to weaving a tapestry. That's cool.
Right, and the gods are involved in the process too. It's like we're all co-creating together. And then they talk about the meters again, their connections to different deities. Closely was Gayatri conjoined with Agni, and closely Savitar combined with Usnik. Brilliant with Uthas, Soma joined Anustup. Brahaspati's voice by Grati was aided.
So they really put a lot of thought into their language, their poetry.
They did. Words were powerful. And they acknowledge how ritual and knowledge can elevate humanity. It says, so by this knowledge men were raised to Ursus when ancient sacrifice sprang up, our fathers. With the mind's eye, I think that I behold them who first performed this sacrificial worship.
So they're looking back to their ancestors, the ones who came before and paved the way.
Exactly. And they pay tribute to those 7 godlike Ursus again. It says, they who were versed in ritual and meter, in hymns and rules, were the 7 godlike Ursus.
Wow. It's amazing to think about how their legacy continues.
It is. And, as we wrap up our deep dive into the Rig Veda, I keep coming back to this one passage. It says, they gaze on thee with longing in their spirit, as on a strong-winged bird that mounteth skyward. On thee with wings of gold, Varuna's envoy, the bird that hasteneth to the home of Yama.
That's beautiful, the soul ascending to heaven like a golden bird.
Right. Guided by Varuna's envoy to the realm of Yama, the god of death.
It really speaks to the Rig Veda's exploration of life and death, and how our journey doesn't end when we die, it just transforms.
It does. And as we've seen, the Rig Veda is so much more than just a collection of ancient hymns. It's about our relationship with the divine, with nature, with each other. It's about the search for meaning, connection, understanding.
And Rita, that cosmic order that seems to underpin everything.
It does. And, maybe that's a good question for our listener to ponder. What can we learn from the Rig Veda's emphasis on cosmic order, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the power of ritual and right action? How can we apply those ideas to our lives today in a world that's facing so many challenges?
That's a great question. It challenges us to look for those timeless truths within these ancient texts and find ways to make them relevant to our modern lives.
Exactly. And to remember that the search for meaning and understanding is a journey, one that we can take together, drawing inspiration from wisdom traditions like the Rig Veda.
It's been an amazing journey exploring these hymns with you.
It really has. And to our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. May the wisdom of the Rig Veda continue to inspire you. Satyawof.